What's going on, everybody out there? And welcome back, finally, to the Dark Avenger comic book review series. It's been a long time, 3+ years since we've actually had this series ongoing, but we're finally back full speed. And it's been a while, so I feel like I want to do a proper reintroduction of the series for those of you that are new, for those of you that have forgotten, and maybe just because there's somebody out there that wants to know what is this series about. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Chris, Dark Avenger C86, the Brooklyn sleeveless Avenger that likes to sit here each and every week on this series and talk about the books I've read in that particular week. The goal here is to catch back up. Originally, the first 500 episodes were every single week, 500 consecutive weeks of comic reviews. We did not miss a beat for 500 episodes. And then on the 500th episode, I think due to many voices and many opinions that were voiced towards me, at the 500th episode, I decided to end the comic review series. So anyway, the show ended at 500. Obviously, we did try to bring the show back multiple times, and we even renamed the show for a little while. For 15 episodes, we have 501 to 515. The show ended again for a little while, and then we brought it back as the Chaotic Reviews for a bit. And now here we are with everything in the background finally over, because we had a lot of stuff going on in the background. I will say that, and that alone. But we're finally caught up. Everything's finally settled. The dust is settled, and we're back. And hopefully now we can get the review back. Well, we have to catch the review back up to full speed, which is what we're doing here. But when we catch everything up, this is a show where I like to take these books that we call comic books, talk about them, review them, share my thoughts with them, positive, negatives, criticisms, everything, to give all of you my thoughts on the books, maybe help you make a educated choice on what books you'd like to buy at the comic shop, or maybe you're just curious about a book, you want to hear about it to see if it's something you're interested in picking up. Whatever the reason, you are here because I'm talking comic books and you are interested in hearing my thoughts and what's going on in the comic books. I do like to share thoughts and stuff about stuff going on in the companies, depending on what we're talking about in certain books. But anyway, that's it. I sit here, I talk about comic books, I review them, I give my opinion, and then hopefully it helps you make an educated choice on what books you'd like to read. Or maybe you're just here because you want to hear about what's going on in the comics and you're not buying comic books at all. Either way, I'm very happy for all of you to be here. I've missed all of you so much. Let's waste no time and get into episode 516 of the Dark Avenger comic book review series. This episode, we're going to be focusing on every single Superman series I've been reading since January of 2023, all the way till, I would like to say, July of 2023. You're going to notice some books are missing. That is okay. Whatever issue is out now or came out last month or maybe even the month before that, because I don't have the physical issue yet, those books will be in reviews. And I'm actually going to talk about the next episode once we finish this episode. Normally, I like to cover things one book at a time, but because I am so far behind and I do want to share my thoughts because DC just had its big reboot, so to speak, or restart, sort of, and Superman's restarted especially, and that's the book that brought me into comics. We're going to do Superman only for this episode. Next episode will be different, and then, like I said, the sooner we catch up, the sooner we get back to talking about specific weeks only. I'm hoping that by maybe September, we'll be back to a weekly, talking about books that come out only in a specific week. Then, of course, a couple extras. But anyway, let's start with these books. Superman 516. Here we go. So we're going to talk about World's Finest first. Issue number 12, real quick, a sum up. It's Dick Grayson and Supergirl's date. It was a fun one shot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. That's the only book I'm going to be doing as a single book, because that is the only book out of everything I've read here that doesn't have a connection. The rest of World's Finest, issue number 13 right here. If you see me looking over there, that's because I'm looking at the computer to make sure that you can see what I see. Issue number 14, got the variant for that. Issue number 15 and issue number 16. We got the new Mazo story arc. So I like how in the very beginning of this story arc, we got a reintroduction to Metamorpho, his whole background, how his origin, so to speak, and then Stag ends up being killed, and then other things start happening, and it all connects to New Mazo. It's not even a Mazo. A Mazo is the slave to New Mazo. We had Bruce Wayne framed for murder at first. We had people being taken over, and New Mazo, like what's the word I'm looking for, copying what they look like. Superman, robots, Robin, and the Teen Titans, which, by the way, Teen Titans also got a World's Finest book. We'll talk about issue number 1. I am going to read it. I will try to review it. One thing I like about World's Finest is it takes its own chunk of the universe in its own time. So this doesn't connect to the main DC universe. It's its own story in its own time, which is why Dick Grayson is Robin here, and why when we get World's Finest Teen Titans, it's going to be Dick Grayson and the original Teen Titans first. I love World's Finest. It is one of my favorite books to read right now. I'm just making sure that, this is the last one. And it's been an enjoyment. The artwork's been great, and the story's consecutive as well, consecutively great. Definitely a book I would recommend Batman, Superman fans. I've really, truly enjoyed it. So I did review Action Comics number 1051. It got a Comics and Coffee solo in-depth review. And it was the reintroduction. It's the restart of Superman. But we're going to continue now with 1052, with 1053. I hope I have these in the proper order. Yes. 1054. 1055. Yes, Cyborg Superman does make an appearance. And 1056. This was, I believe, this was the one where it ended and says to be continued. The one thing, and we'll talk about this once we get through all the books, I love that because of Nightmares, every single DC comic book is, other than the miniseries, is now on a to be continued in September kind of thing. So any ongoing series that isn't a what do you call it, like separate miniseries, everything says we will see you this September. I don't like when companies take the entire company, the entire line, and pause it. It's annoying, and it's 2 months where you're basically giving your writers an excuse not to have to deal with the main story because you're doing Nightmares. And DC kind of promised no big events after the whole Reborn thing. And here we are with Nightmares, which again is a Batman-centric book focused around, well, we're going to talk about Nightmares because I have issues 1 through 3 and they're going to be in the next review. So let's not go into Nightmares yet. But again, we have a Batman universe arc going on, universe changing whatever or impacting arc, and it pauses every single book to wait. But anyway, Superman versus Metallo in the first couple of issues was really good. Metallo being blackmailed by Lex Luthor into fighting Superman and killing him, only to find out then later on that we have Cyborg Superman show up, and he's the real villain here, and he ends up taking Metallo's sister and changing her, and now she becomes like Metallo because she's all robot as well. Metallo helps Superman and his family fight the Cyborg Superman, and in the end kind of becomes, is he going to be the new anti-hero for the Superman family? I don't know. The one thing I will say I do like about Action Comics is it's going in the same route as Detective Comics. Detective Comics is the Batman family book. Action Comics is the Superman family book. One thing I will say is there were 2 other stories in here. Lois and Clark 2, which is still going on, even though we're done with we're moving forward with the main story. Lois and Clark 2, I've been enjoying it. It involves stuff that spiraled out of the Death of Superman 30th anniversary, where John gets abducted by a alien race. He has a piece of Doomsday, and so is that other Doom guy. I don't know why I keep forgetting his name, but he's looking for that piece. He gets that piece, and now he's evolving into a more mutated version of Doomsday. So you have Superman dealing with that, and then now he has to go save his son as well. And I like that they have him regrowing his beard like he had in Lois and Clark, the first series. In the 151 to 153 was a Power Girl third story arc. I didn't feel it was as strong. And then from 154 to 156, we had a Steel Engineer of Tomorrow arc, which then spiraled into, oh, I grabbed the wrong books next. Where is it? Here we go. Number 3, number 2, and oh boy, I grabbed the wrong one, didn't I? I did. 1 and 2. Oh, we only had 1 and 2. That's why I don't have number 3 yet. I'm sorry. My fault, everybody. Scuff review, first one, which then goes into Steelworks. Here's issue number 1. This is a John Bogdanoff cover, I believe. Yes, I got the Bogdanoff cover for Steel number 1 and Steel number 2. I'm reading this mostly because it's spun out of Action Comics. It's a Superman story. Steel has never been one of the stronger characters that I've liked reading. I do like the series. I think the art, by the way, Action Comics, all the artwork, all the stories, great. Power Girl, once again, felt kind of out of place, but Power Girl's getting her own miniseries now. So, hey, Power Girl's getting her own miniseries. Steel, however, I like Steel, don't get me wrong. I'm glad it's a miniseries. Steelworks, out of all the books that I'm reviewing here, is my weakest out of all of the Superman books. However, it's still a fun read. If you're a fan of Steel, you'll definitely be reading Steel. Now, a book that returned, I want to make sure I grab all the issues. Yes. A book that returned after so long, and actually I believe we're going to be getting a renumbering once it gets to number 350, is Superman. Superman is back, the Superman title with Clark as Superman. So this is issue number 1. This is issue number 2. There's a lot of what do you call it? In issue 1, we get a little bit of a preview of what's coming in Superman altogether, like throughout the next year. This is Marilyn Moonlight. She's going to be a character that is going to be, I hope I said her name right. She's going to be making an appearance come September once again as things end. Is Superman number 3. We do have a Parasite. This is a Parasite story arc that goes on. And we also had Livewire in the very beginning of the series. I do like this cover. So Lex Luthor, and this is issue number 5. Lex Luthor, being the only one that knows that Superman is Clark Kent now, wants to work with Superman. He wants LexCorp to become Supercorp, and he actually changes LexCorp to Supercorp. He's in jail for what he's done to Manchester Black and other crimes. And now he's trying to get Superman to work with Supercorp or LexCorp, and he's going to be Superman's coach, so to speak, or his how would I explain this? For those of you that watched Smallville, he's trying to be like Chloe. He's trying to be the person in Superman's ear telling him what's going on, the person at home base, so to speak, giving Superman all the help and whatnot. But this is Lex Luthor, and this is having him in your ear definitely can't be fun. But what I love about this is Superman finds out that, well, Lex Luthor does share that there is also a supervillain group that's coming after him, LexCorp, and now Superman, because they're using Superman to get to Lex Luthor. And that's how they got Parasite and what they did to Parasite in order to get to Superman. And they also blackmail Banshee, who is in this issue, who we find out is dating Jimmy Olsen. Holy crap. But I thought that was really great. I love the artwork in this book. So there's a lot. I'm literally throwing everything out that's happened in this book. But I love it so much. I really did enjoy it. I think Superman is actually one of the top 2 books from this entire list. I really did enjoy. I am enjoying Superman a lot. So I'm trying to remember every single thing, but a lot's happened. We've got a lot of new characters that are going to be showing up. I love how Superman doesn't want to give up on Lex. He makes that that kind of like he notices that, I never gave up on anybody, but I gave up on you, Lex, and I decided I'm not going to give up on you. I'm going to join Supercore. I'm going to work with you, and I'm going to try to find a way. And we get some new villains that are looking to kill, like I said, Lex Luthor. It's this big mad scientist group, and they're using Superman in order to do it. And of course, issue number 5 to be continued in September. So there was a cliffhanger ending that we're not going to know about. I'm not going to spoil that until September. The good news is, as I'm doing this review, it is August. So that's why I'm saying hopefully by September we'll catch up to the weeks. So this way, when the first week of September comes, I could talk about the first week of September's books and not have to worry about, still having to talk about more books. Okay. Another one of my favorites. We've got Superboy. Superboy, I forget what they call this, the Man of Tomorrow miniseries, following Connor into space because he's looking for his own place in the universe. I like this little space story that we got. This is issue number 2. The only thing I don't like about about Connor here, they did like a mix of the old costume with new aesthetics to it, the spikes, the way the S is on the back of the leather jacket. While I'm not a fan of the remixed, modernized costume, I do like the story. I like how he joins this group of they're like bandits, but they're not, and there's so much that sort of happens. But he ends up teaming up with them. I believe it's the Cosmeteers, was it called? And by now, I think the 4th or 5th issues come out of this series. So there was a cliffhanger to issue number 3, where all of them ended up. It looks like they've died, and we don't know why. But the Cosmeteers something happens, and Superboy's gone missing too. And we're gonna find out in the next issue what happens. But it's nice to see a Connor series again. Would I love to see Connor back again? Yes. I would love to see the Jeff Johns Titans back again, that group, but I unfortunately don't think we're going to be getting that because we have, Nightwing's Titans, and then we also have World's Finest Titans. So I don't think we're going to be getting the Jeff Johns Titans back. But it would be nice maybe if Young Justice at some point, maybe, ? We could get that again. I'd be okay with Young Justice as well, honestly. This series definitely is, once again, on the top 3 for sure. And it is a miniseries, it's a maxi series actually, because it's 10 issues. And it's called Superman Lost. First issue is the start and end point of Superman Lost, which I love. So Superman ends up getting sucked into a black hole in issue number 1. And in issue number 1, he comes back right away. Superman returns almost instantaneously from the black hole. Only mere minutes have passed. However, for Earth, mere minutes have passed. For Superman, it's been years. Superman ends up getting lost in the black hole, thus Superman Lost. I love the costume that he gets. He ends up on another planet that's kind of like Earth, and he is kind of their Superman for a time. And while he is trying to get back to Earth, there's so many little things that happen, like space dolphins. And in every issue, we do get a moment in the present again where you see Superman kind of adapting or readapting to being home again. And you could tell that Lois is pissed. And I'm not saying that they're going to break up, but it has that feeling of Lois is so pissed off at what happened to Clark and what happened in general. She doesn't want to talk to Bruce. She's angry at Clark for what happened. And it just feels like she has this very strong resentment for what he's done. And I'm enjoying how the story in the past is unfolding while he was lost. He was lost in space so long that he had to learn to hold his breath. And while he's sleeping, Lois has to wake him up. And you could tell that she's getting very frustrated about it because it's not the first time she's had to do it. He's laying in bed and he'll stop breathing for a long time. And Superman can hold his breath for a long time. But of course, he's on Earth. He doesn't have to do that. So you can see the PTSD from what's happened to him. And I'm curious how this is all going to play out by the time we get to the end of the series. I know issue 5, maybe even 6 is out already. So we are well into Superman Lost, but definitely something I would say to give a check out to. I have really been enjoying. This is definitely a highly recommended miniseries coming out of Superman. 100% would recommend. And then we have one more, 5 issues in. I believe there's only a couple more to go for this, and that is The Adventures of Superman, John Kent. I wasn't going to get this series because I really wasn't a fan of how they did John in his ongoing Superman series. I feel like there were a lot of pushed agendas. We all know this. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it. Everyone under the sun has already talked about this on YouTube in very, very, very long and detailed videos that are like hours long explaining everything wrong that was with Superman John Kent. So I'm not going to sit here and do that. If you would like to, you can go anywhere, and I'm sure somebody will have something to talk about when it comes to John. I love John. I think John is a really cool character. I do feel like it was a missed opportunity to age him up because him and Damian had that brotherhood where they should have grown up together instead of John being forced to age up. Not against him being what he is, his sexuality. I am all for that as long as the story is not forced. And I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, that was the focal point of Superman, John Kent, and I'm glad to say that in this miniseries that is not the case. I bought this for 2 reasons: the electric blue Superman powers that John Kent apparently has, and I found out after I got issue 2 that it was going to connect to Injustice. So John Kent gets brought in because a lot of Supermen are dying, and it's due to Ultraman. So I forgot what his name was. President Superman ends up enlisting John to go find Ultraman and to stop him. And what happens is he follows Ultraman into a universe, stops him using his electric blue Superman powers, and then we find out that he's in the Injustice world. And Ultraman is dealt with by Injustice Superman the way that we all know. And I mean, it's Tom Taylor writing Injustice once again. And now John is in this world, and it's the Injustice world, and he doesn't really know yet what his father has done in this world. And the Injustice Superman kind of wants to keep John, but wants to see that he's doing the right thing. And I love how they showed the Kents in one of the issues, and the Kents are like, you have a chance to kind of wake our son up, because everybody knows Superman's wrong, but Superman's not listening. So they're hoping that John could be the one that wakes Superman up. Will that be the case? Probably not, because we had Injustice 2, and this apparently takes place in between the two. Maybe. I don't know. Unless they're going to split the Injustice universe off, and the Injustice gaming universe goes to Injustice 2, and then John will somehow redeem Injustice Superman. I don't know. But I am enjoying this miniseries a lot. I do like how John found his boyfriend in the Injustice universe as well, and how that interaction went. I thought it was very cute. It was very sweet. But I found that moment very nice. But once again, it was done in a way where it wasn't the focal point of the story, but it was an important part of the story. And I thought it was really, really well done. I think Tom Taylor is doing an excellent job with this miniseries, and I can't wait to see how that ends. And with that, we are at, how long have we been recording? Wow, 24 minutes. 24 minutes, and we went through every single Superman series I've read so far. So what is next? That's it for this review, by the way. Next episode 517, will be a mix. We're going to have some TMNT. We're going to have some books that have come out from physical books that I've gotten from the previous month or two. I'm going to try to check. Normally, I don't do physical reviews as much on this review anymore. I like to do things digitally. I have like a little picture of the comic book that'll pop up, over here. And at some point, don't be surprised if we don't do a mix. There might be a mix of physical and digital, just so that this way we can get the review. And also, sometimes I like to do the review, and my books take a while to get here. So I might not be holding a book, but where the book is over here in the corner is where the book will be Like we'll have there'll be a picture that shows up, because one of the things that happened early on in the reviews is I had to wait for my books to come, and my reviews would be later than I wanted them to be, and we'd already be getting into the next week's worth of books. So possibility that when we do catch up and we're back to the weekly format, on the review, you're going to be seeing a lot of the like the covers inlay instead of me actually holding the books. However, we are bringing back weekly hauls. There are going to be unboxing videos, and I will be also doing several other things as time moves forward. I already mentioned the weekly comic book haul coming back. So that's where you'll be able to see the physical books. But for the reviews, after we get past episode 517, and I'll mention this again at the end of the next episode, we'll probably end up going back to a digital cover front, especially if I want to catch up and be ready for when the first week of September comes. That is the goal, and that's what I'm hoping for, as we are already in the middle of August. I hope all of you enjoyed this episode. And again, it is episode 517, but for me, it feels like episode 1 all over again. So I apologize if things were shaky, if I went a lot. As I move forward and get back into the swing of things, that is when it's all relearning and moving forward. It's like riding a bike. You never forget, but at the same time, after not doing it for so many years, I'm going to get back into the swing of things as we get closer to like episode 500 and maybe 25. Fingers crossed. Thank you all so much for being here. Social media links are in the description below. If you'd like to join the Discord, if you're into gaming, check that out. Speaking of gaming, Chaotic Falcon 86 on Twitch. If you'd like to watch me game at some point, I game every now and again. Go check out Chaotic Falcon 86 over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chaotic Falcon 86. Again, links in the description below. Look forward to Dark Avenger Live and all the other awesome video series that are going to be going on this channel. And hopefully I will get you all episode 517 as soon as possible. Till then, everybody, take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see all of you in the next review. Take care, everybody.